Hi, I'm Kara O, and this is another edition of Lip Smack and Love, and today is Singles Saturday, and I have my cohort here. He's become a cohort. I've had him on so many times. Jonathon Aslay. His website is relationshipconfidant.com, and I had to kind of talk him into this topic, but it's commitment, the whole thing about commitment, and I know that's what women want as quickly as they can get it, and I have, I talk, in my book, I talk about, for a man, it's not a romantic thing. It's not a like, oh, this is so wonderful. It's a nuts and bolts decision to commit, in particular to marriage, because it has to do with the responsibility. He looks at it as, I'm going to take on these responsibilities.
Absolutely.
To go into a committed relationship. And, I mean, women want the commitment. At the very least, they should not have sex with a man when they're dating without the commitment, which is different than committing to marriage, but the commitment, the promise that you're not going to have sex with anybody else, you're not going to date anybody else. I think a woman that does it, just like, assumes is stupid. I'm sorry. She's stupid. She needs to know, and then you still don't know.
Well,
because you can lie.
It's absolutely true. It's about being in a social monogamous and intimate monogamous relationship. That is a commitment.
Yes.
Okay. Now, is that a commitment on paper? No. Is that marriage? No.
Right.
But obviously, but you should want that sort of commitment before you get intimate with a man.
Yeah.
And so that's one form of commitment.
Right.
Other forms of commitment are you're in a relationship where you know that you're going to lead towards marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to lead towards some sort of commitment or long-term perspective with somebody. And as we were thinking about this, I was thinking of something we talked about earlier, is that, not an earlier episode, we were talking outside, I think, remember I said, men have what you want, and that is you want our commitment. Okay,
right.
And I thought about that a little bit more. You have what we want, your bodies.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So and really, that's really the dynamic. I hear this with my clientele all the time. Is they're looking for us to commit. And you said it so right. Commitment is responsibility.
Yes.
It's a promise. And oftentimes I've been thinking about this for myself and even the men that I talk to in the locker rooms and the gyms and the clubs and things like that. Is that it's really a promise that I'm going to live up to something for the rest of my life. And we're like, do we even know that's what we want to do?
Right.
So sometimes giving a commitment is that we just come from a place where we don't know. Women think of it as like, well, we're in love, he should just want to commit.
Right.
And even when we talk about monogamy, is that for men to be monogamous is the hardest thing we'll ever do in our lives. Believe it or not, we don't instinctively, in our bodies, biologically, want to be monogamous. I think there's only two creatures. I think the penguin mates for life and the black widow mates till death.
Well, the bald eagle, I heard lately that not the bald, I don't know if they have to be bald, but the eagle mates for life.
Yeah. But we men, we don't mate for life.
No, I think it's unnatural.
Yeah. And so for us to be monogamous, it's actually a conscious choice.
Yes.
It's not an instinctive choice. So, and I mean, again, I'm not suggesting even that, yes, do we fantasize about other women, even when we're in a committed monogamous relationship, where we truly love the person we're with. We might fantasize, but we don't act upon it.
Right.
But trust me, it's an urge that we have instinctively in us.
Yeah.
So for us to be in a committed monogamous relationship, and again, I think about this, is when a man gives you his promise, and he's going to stick with that promise, just like the wedding vows, I promise to love, honor, and cherish till death do us part, whether sickness and health. That's a huge responsibility.
It's not a lovey-dovey, airy-fairy, romancy, schmancy kind of a deal. It's like, whoa, to the guy.
So I think if you understand the way we men think in this capacity, and understand that we don't think the way you do.
No.
Okay? I mean, and you know this, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so for us to even contemplate commitment and monogamy, I mean, I'm not speaking all men. I mean, I'm speaking generally about men, but some men are different than others.
I think it's deep in the genes.
Exactly.
That's why I say it's unnatural. My background is cultural anthropology. And in my studies in school and traveling even, around the world,
Yeah.
and being in areas where there are, I mean, it's natural throughout history that mankind has
Yeah.
been on this planet. It's multiple wives. That's the natural way.
Yeah.
And, you know, women go, well, why does he always have to pick a younger one? Well, in those cultures,
Yeah.
he always picks, like, if 17 is the baby-making choice age, first time he gets married, maybe he's 18,
Yeah.
and then he's a few years later, he can afford another wife.
Yeah.
It's not always everybody gets them,
Yeah.
but it's going to be the 17-year-old, he's in his 30s, 17-year-old, he's in his 50s, 17-year-old. That's natural.
Yeah.
So that's part of the deal. But for a man to, one of the things, though, men have explained is that it's maybe for you, but for most guys, it's not that easy to find a woman to have sex with. It's like,
Well,
you
thank
know,
you, by the
I
way.
mean, they have to work at it, and it's all those rejections. We've talked about that before. Warren Farrell, I love him to pieces. He wrote a book called Myth of Male Power, and he says from the first eye contact to intercourse, there's about 100 steps where he can
really?
be rejected.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's like, we're going to get from here to there as quick as we can so we can get through all those potential rejections.
You know what? There's truth to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mission in some cases.
Really,
you know.
I know. It's like, oh, God, finally I can relax. I got her. But, you know.
But can I share something with you?
Yes,
And
please.
going back to, as we men get older, okay, I will say that when, especially you've heard the term sowing your wild oats.
Yes.
Doing all that.
Yeah,
After a while, when you've had all your fun, and I mean, it does happen. It happens at some point in your life, whether it's 40, if you're 40, 43, 45, whatever, at some point, believe it or not, men want to settle down. Okay?
Right.
They actually want to go into a real nurturing relationship. So if you meet those bad boys out there, or the players, or that sort of thing, understand that that's just part of genetics.
Part of their maturing and growing.
And then they're
toward,
going through their process.
Yeah.
And so when a man goes, and it's the difference between being a boy and becoming a man.
Yes.
And believe it or not, you know, 18 years old is an adult by legal terms. But I look at my young boys and I think, you know, when they're 19 years old, they're going to be a 1-year-old adult when they're 19.
Yeah.
And I think a man has to
That's
be...
a good way to put it.
I actually, because I'm looking at my 13-year-old son. He's a great kid and everything, but he's unaware. So 5 years from now, is he going to be, all of a sudden, we view him in society as an adult.
Yeah.
When he's 19, he's a 1-year-old adult. He's had 1 year to experience life on his own.
Yeah.
So I oftentimes say, look, a man doesn't really know who he is until he's an 18-year-old adult. Okay? That puts him at 36 years old.
I like that.
That's
I like
the way
how
I
you
view
think.
it.
I know. I love the way you look at things.
I think you should be looking, if you're thinking about a serious relationship, you have to find that man who's an 18-year-old adult.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And he's experienced life.
Another piece I wanted to be sure and throw in here, and this is from my years of interviewing men and really, you know, learning how they think, which is your specialty. Being a man, that helps. But you're a thoughtful man. You're an introspective, thoughtful man. You've paid attention. Is that men have told me, and this almost brings tears to my eyes because it's so sweet, they like sex better when there's love.
Oh, without a doubt.
And that's really important.
Yeah.
And if you can, one of our earlier videos on the 6 types of men, if you can find the man who's in joy, he's in a state of joy because you make him feel so good, because you're a happy, glowing, beautiful woman, he's much more likely to stay monogamous. There are those that are going to cheat no matter what you're doing. But if if he gets to stay in joy and he's thrilled that you're the one in his life, and you are giving him blowjobs once in a while. We talked about that earlier.
We'll talk about
that.
That
doesn't stop at the altar. You got a happy guy.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're in a state of joy, we'll be committed and monogamous for the rest of our lives.
That's right. Ooh, this is good stuff. I'm so glad you've come on board here. So that's it for today. I'm Kara O with Jonathon Aslay, and we wish you lots of lip smack and love. Mwah.